This video, also want to share my thoughts on Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. A little bit information about myself is that, I was really into basketball before I found, discovered martial arts. And I played basketball mainly from the age of like 9 until 16. So about, 17 years that not 17, 7 years that I put a lot of my energies into basketball. I loved basketball. And at the time, I really admired Michael Jordan, as like a lot of people did. Um, and I would only watch basketball when Jordan was playing, and ever since he left the league, I never watched basketball again. And also getting into the martial arts, I never went back to basketball. I didn't care to watch it, didn't care to play it. I just gave up on it, because it wasn't my passion anymore. Martial arts is my passion. But just recently, um, just within the last week, I started to watch some videos from Steph Curry, with the Golden State Warriors, and because they're the ones in the playoffs, and I just wanted to see some highlight, reels of him, and a lot of people have been talking about him, and I didn't know what was going on until about last week. I saw the videos, I saw the highlights of the games, and what I like about the highlights of the games is that you don't need to watch the whole game. You don't gotta waste 2.5 hours of your life just watching a game, So I was able to watch, from the YouTube, basically just a couple 10 minutes go by, and then you can see the highlights of everything that's all the shots that were made. So instead of spending 2.5 hours, just spend 10 minutes, and I don't have a problem doing that. So I was watching the videos of him playing against the Thunder, and then I ended up seeing some highlights of all the threes that he made in a certain year, and then I started looking at the statistics and just his style of play, and I was very impressed, to me. And then I saw some comments from LeBron James and even Scottie Pippen where they're acknowledging him to be like probably the best shooter of all time in the NBA. And I think at this moment we're witnessing something with Curry that hasn't been witnessed before. And I think anytime something like that happens is something worth putting your attention towards. Michael Jordan was one of those individuals. And, Kobe Bryant and LeBron James were just basically, in my eyes, just trying to be like a Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan is just, he's the main one. And there's the style of play of Kobe Bryant and LeBron James is the same. It's just something like a repeat. But Curry is bringing in something totally different. Like the amount of threes that he makes and how he shoots from so far beyond the arc, where he just clearly like way beyond the arc, and he still shoots it and makes it, and how he's just shooting threes off the dribble. He doesn't even have to be, have to get an assist from somebody. He's just basically shooting threes as if he's in the paint. He's shooting it from so far away, and that's something that I've never seen before, and nobody's ever seen before. The consistency of it, and it's very impressive, and I think it's bringing a whole new dimension to the game, and it's just, I think it's bringing, and he's, I heard that he's only like, he's about 6'3", I thought he was smaller than that, but he's 6'3", which is in the NBA, that's considered pretty short still. Michael Jordan was 6'6", he's 6'3". His style of play is very different. He's not like a big, strong person. You could tell that he's just, he's a smaller person. He's not that strong, but he's just really fast and very talented in shooting, very good at dribbling, and he's bringing a different element into the NBA because everybody's so used to like, idolizing and praising people that are like over 6'6". Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James, they're all like over 6'6", and the way that their style of play is very like strength and power focused and very like dunking the ball over the people. But this person, he's utilizing different skill sets. It's like shooting and dribbling and passing and stealing, and basically being a point guard, like having a point guard dominate the NBA, having a point guard being like considered the best person in the NBA, to me is a rare. You know, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are shooting guards, and I think LeBron James is a shooting guard or a small forward or something like that. But and then you got people like Shaquille O'Neal back in the day, who's a center. You got the centers and the shooting guards always dominating the NBA. But when is it the point guard is actually seen as the best person in the NBA? And this is is like the first time in history, really, to me. And it's very impressive and also inspiring to see somebody at that level, but he's not like that big compared to everybody else. That's like a small person coming in there to show that, hey, you know, like, we have potential as too. You know, I think someone like Bruce Lee that's what he brought into the martial arts, like a small person standing at only 5'7", you know, demonstrating that he's very capable and he could beat people that are way bigger than him, over 6 feet tall. You know, that he's capable. You know, that he's not just a weak person, that he's untalented. Like, shows that, you know, you could be very talented at what you do even if you're a small person. And I think Curry brings that same type of mentality to the plate, you know, because usually the NBA is dominated by big people, but he's a smaller person that's dominating the NBA, and that's inspiring, you know. And you know, it would have been nice if he was playing when I was younger, because then I would have played. I would have tried to emulate his style of play, which is more of how I should have played. But back in the day, I was emulating the wrong person, obviously, because here you got Michael Jordan dunking over people and 6'6", and you know, crazy athletic at such a tall height. You know, that's not symbolizing the type of style that would be effective for my style of play. You know, I would have been better off trying to play like somebody like a Curry. Back in the day, you know, there's other people that are really talented too, like someone like Allen Iverson. But I think that Curry takes it to a whole nother level, because Allen Iverson was somebody who was smaller than everybody around him usually, but he would always drive to the hoop and go hard into the paint. And but the Curry just basically, he's more of a 3-point shooter, and he's the one who specializes in 3 points and just basically shooting from very far away and making the shot. You know, and Allen Iverson had great ball handling skills as well. But I think, like I said, I think Curry takes it to a whole nother level. And even Curry brought them to the championship last year, and he might even do it this year as well. You know, so to have a point guard leading an entire team to a championship is, to me, a very rare thing. You know, so I think he's worth paying attention to, and I think that this is rare for somebody to come around with this type of talent. It might be every 20 years, 30 years that somebody comes around with this sort of talent. And I think with his inspiration, I think, or just what he's capable of, it can inspire a whole new generation of basketball players that is not just all about being big and strong and just like dunking over people, but it could inspire a whole generation of basketball players that just love shooting, and people could have a good shot no matter what height they are. You know, they could be 6 feet tall, they could be 6'5", they could be 5'5". As long as they could shoot, and they could shoot well, and they could play good defense, then they could be, one of the best, and they could potentially make it to the NBA. So it'd be nice if the NBA was more diverse and having people of different heights that are even shorter, but at the same time, very, very talented. Like, not just, this person's short, so he's not going to do anything. He can't do anything. Because they're even talking about how I've heard that they might even start making a 4-point line. Instead of just a 3-point line, they have another line where the people get 4 points. So imagine that, where a dunk costs a dunk is worth 2 points, but then you shoot from far away and it's worth 4 points. It's double the points. Then you'll see the game is going to be changing dynamically, where there's going to be a lot more shots that are fired from like further out, and and then there could be a greater appreciation for people that are good shooters and not just people that could just dunk a ball like very well. I think the NBA for so long has been oversaturated with just big people, and small people are just not allowed to play. They're not even they're just basically seen as like worthless because they're so small and they're ineffective in the paint because they just get dunked over and everything. But with somebody like Curry, being so good at shooting threes, every time the opponent dunks on you and you make a three as retaliation, you end up winning the game. Because they make 50 dunks, they get 100 points, and then you get, 50 times 3, you get 150 points, 150 to 0. And it's just bringing the game. I see that it makes it more dynamic. Small people, big people, and then showing the effectiveness of small people. Because he's a small person compared to everybody else, and the way that he plays, he barely ever dunks. He's always doing layups. He's always shooting threes, and it's a new thing, and also just being a small person myself. I mean, LeBron James is very talented, of course. Michael Jordan is very talented, of course, but they're just so big and large, and it's like being a small person. Okay, you acknowledge the talent, but you're so far away from that you can't even you can't even practice. There's nothing you could do to practice enough to get as good as they are, because they just have a genetic advantage that's way beyond what you'll ever be able to achieve, because they were just born with it. But Steph Curry, this is like hard work, like constantly training and practicing to get good at shooting, and decades of practice. And he wasn't just born to be a good shooter. Something you gotta work hard towards. But somebody like LeBron James, being that big, that large, yeah, of course he works hard, but he was born that big. He was born that way, and you can't. You could be 6 foot tall. You could be 5'5", 5'3". You'll never be able to play like LeBron James, no matter how many hours you put into the basketball court. Because he has that genetic advantage. And so many sports are just dominated by big people that small people just have nowhere to go. They can't play basketball, they can't play football. I mean, there's just very little things that they could do, out there. And somebody like a Steph Curry, somebody like a Mayweather, somebody like a Pacquiao, smaller people coming in there dominating a sport. That's a very great thing to see. Something like that you normally don't see. Something that they're usually underestimated because of their size and their height. And being small myself, it's an inspiration to me. When you see somebody that's small, that is basically proving that your size really doesn't matter. It's not just about size. Other things are important as well. So like a Bruce Lee, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Steph Curry, like small people is an inspiration to me. Michael Jordan's great, LeBron James is great, Kobe Bryant is great, Muhammad Ali, they're great, but I can't relate because I am not born to be their size. And even though they're great, the way that their style can't be my style, because they're just big people, and I acknowledge their style, I acknowledge their talent, but I feel that I need inspiration from other small people, to help me get to to a higher level myself. And I think it could be a great inspiration for a lot of people out there, and finally, if there's more, some people in the NBA that are smaller but very talented, I mean, it's a huge thing to me, so even Muggsy Bogues, Spud Webb were like smaller people, like Spud Webb was like 5'7", Muggsy Bogues was like 5'3", you know, um, Allen Iverson I think was like 6'1". I mean that's still tall compared to the average, but in the NBA that's considered small, So just like with the women, like a lot of women being inspired by Ronda Rousey or whoever out there, I think women, smaller people. I mean, it's just nice to see talent out there that's just out of the ordinary, just not the average normal thing that you always see. Because to me, there's really no big difference between LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. It's just a different name. Their style of game is just the same thing, But to see Steph Curry is completely different thing, completely different. I mean, you had Tim Hardaway, you had Allen Iverson, you had John Stockton, you had other people that are small but were good, but not to this level. Not to the level of Steph Curry and what he's doing. If you see the highlight reels, you see what I'm talking about, And that's my thoughts on him. I give major props to him. And, I look forward to watching the highlights of his upcoming games. And to me, it's an inspiration.